Lawmakers returning to Capitol Hill today in the wake of President Trump's contentious decision to strike Iran. And that decision drawing swift condemnation, not just from Democrats, but also from members of his own party, including notably Kentucky Republican Representative Thomas Massie, who said Trump's actions were not constitutional. NewsNation political correspondent Hannah Brandt joins us live now following all of these developments in the nation's capital. So, Hannah, Congress was not in session when the president made his decision and carried out those strikes. What are we hearing from lawmakers now that they're back?
Well, Nichole, in many ways, the reactions are what you might expect falling along party lines. Many Republican lawmakers say they do support the president's decision to strike Iran, saying that this was an important way to counter the potential of Iran getting those nuclear weapons. Whereas there are a lot of Democrats who are raising concerns about the ways in which this could potentially escalate conflict in the Middle East and maybe even put Americans and American troops especially in harm's way. Democrats, as you noted, many of them also calling this move unconstitutional because the president didn't get prior congressional approval before making these moves. And so that division, very stark here on Capitol Hill today. Take a listen to what some lawmakers have said.
The Constitution clearly gives the president the authority to act on our nation's behalf. Second of all, the War Powers Act, which is in place, was responded to appropriately.
Congress was left in the dark on this. It is not at all clear that there was an imminent threat to the United States.
But as you pointed out, there are some outliers, most notably in the Republican Party, who say they don't agree with the president's move. As you mentioned, Congressman Thomas Massie talking about the president's decision, criticizing it, which has drawn this reaction from President Trump, who says, get this bum out of office ASAP. Obviously very frustrated by those speaking out within his own party. Now, Congressman Massie also introduced a war powers resolution in Congress ahead of the strikes, now calling for that to get a vote over in the House. And that would claw back some of the congressional authority, reassert congressional military authority. And Massie says it could also prevent further escalation in this conflict and further U.S. involvement. There's a similar resolution moving through the Senate as well, that one being led by Democratic Senator Tim Kaine. We're expecting a vote on the Senate side potentially as soon as the end of this week, Nichole.
You know, so Hannah, you really outlined some of the Republican reaction. As we said at the top, you know, some Democratic lawmakers are saying they weren't briefed ahead of the strikes. What more do we know on that front?
Yeah, that's one of the major points of contention here. And there's some division on exactly how this all went down. The White House says they did notify congressional leaders ahead of the strikes. But we know that Senator Chuck Schumer, who's, of course, the minority leader over on the Senate side, sources close to him say that he actually wasn't briefed ahead of time. And there are also Democratic leaders who are part of what's known as the Gang of Eight. That means they hold positions on key intelligence committees who say they also weren't briefed ahead of time. Now, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt insists that both Democratic leaders, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, were notified ahead of these strikes. She does say they weren't able to reach Jeffries. They did try and reach out, but they ended up briefing him afterwards. So like I said, some disagreement about how this all played out. But we do know that the full House and the full Senate are set to be briefed here in the Capitol by the Trump administration tomorrow, Nichole.
For a fact. All right, Hannah Brandt, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.